Welcome, everybody, to the F4 Hunger Awareness Show.
It's my goal to feed 1 billion people before I die.
We want to bring awareness around the issue of hunger and food insecurity.
7 to 8 million people served so far, with the sole goal of eradicating world hunger by connecting sources of food to recipients in need. Fiorenza's Food for Friends.
Hi, Derek Fiorenza with Fiorenza's Food for Friends, and I'm excited to bring you the F4 Hunger Awareness Show. Today I have a very special guest as part of our Chartwell Cares Initiative, our Chartwell Cares series. We're highlighting the great work of the Chartwell Law firm, and today we have one of the partners out of the Atlanta office, Mr. Douglas Burrell. Douglas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Derek. Happy to be here.
Well, there's a lot I want to get into today. The work that you and your team have done down in the Atlanta area has been remarkable. You've really impacted a lot of people this holiday season, and it's really special. We'll be sharing some of the photos. But before we get into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background, growing up, what drew you to the profession of law and becoming an attorney.
Derek, I was born in the state of Iowa, grew up there, and attended the University of Iowa, and played college football for the University of Iowa, and played in the Rose Bowl with the University of Iowa. Ultimately, by the time I was done playing football, I was pretty exhausted and tired. And I went and worked in corporate America, and they had a downsizing, reduction in force. And they came in and they told us that they were going to fire a certain number of people. And if you were contacted to come down to personnel, and they would escort you out of the building with a package. I survived, but at that point I had to start rethinking what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And so I asked myself two questions I think everybody has to ask at some point, which is, what is it that I really want to do, and what do I need to do to get there? I was already taking part-time classes in so what I did was 6 months after the reduction in force, I started in the MBA program full-time, and while I was doing that, I was applying to law school. And so my answer was, what do you really want to do? Go to law school. What do you have to do? Apply, which I did. I was accepted. And then I went on to complete a joint law MBA. And so that's how I'm here. I ended up coming to Georgia. I met my wife in Iowa. My wife is a television news anchor. She got a job as the main female news anchor in Macon, Georgia, while we were engaged. And she moved down here. I moved down a few months later. We got married, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. Did you ever think when you were going to school that you would pursue a law degree afterwards and an MBA?
I knew I was going to pursue an MBA because my older sister, had an MBA. I had thought about law school, but by the time I graduated undergrad, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired of it all because of the amount of time that you spend playing football. You're spending 60 to 80 hours a week during the football season.
Wow.
And 40 to 60 hours a week during the off season. So I was exhausted and did not want to continue a school. And that's why I went out and worked for a while before I started working on the MBA.
What was it like playing in the Rose Bowl?
We lost. So I don't have a lot of memories of it. I've tried to block it out.
Gotcha.
My team was ranked number one in the country most of my senior year. We should have won the national title. Back then, if you lost late in the season, it would end your national title hopes, and we lost late in the season. But I will tell you that my younger brother played football for Northwestern when they played in the Rose Bowl. and I love that experience because I got to see it as a spectator. So I tell people I had the full Rose Bowl experience both as a player and as a spectator of when the family member playing.
That's
So it's pretty cool.
it is really cool. It sounds like your sister got her MBA, so your family really valued education, it sounds like.
Yeah, my mother and father. I was born when my mother and father were attending the University of Iowa. Uh, my mother is off the charts smart. uh, my dad is, but my mom's off the charts. And so it was very, very important to do well and to seek higher education. And so that's what we did.
That's awesome. So then you went to school and you got your MBA and your law degree at the same time. How did that work? Is it like a joint program?
Yeah, it was a joint program. So what I did was I did my first year of MBA classes, and then I started law school, uh, and they knock a semester off of each program. So instead of law school being 3 years, it's 2.5. Instead of the MBA being 2 years, it's 1.5. So it was a total of 4 years. 1 year with the MBA, and then I did 2.5 with law school, and then mixed the classes. My third year of law school, I mixed the MBA and the law classes.
And what kind of law did you come out practicing?
Well, I do liability work, uh, rideshare, trucking transportation, wrongful death, and catastrophic injury. I'm a trial lawyer. I try cases. I parachute into cases when clients hire me to handle major high exposure cases, and they reach out to me and I go try them. And then some of my current clients, I try their case when necessary.
And do you find it really fulfilling being a trial attorney? Do you enjoy it?
I love it actually. I tell people it is the closest thing to provide me with the emotional high that that I got from playing athletics.
That's amazing. Do most of the cases you have, do they go to like a settlement or do you actually have to go try most of them?
Most cases settle.
Okay.
The vast majority of cases settle. If you have good attorneys on both sides and they understand the risk involved and the clients understand the risk involved, the cases settle. Typical cases that go to trials when one person is overvaluing or significantly undervaluing a case. And then that's really when cases tend to go to trial.
So I have a really interesting question for you. You were explaining when you played football, you'd have 60 to 80-hour weeks. You had class, you had practice, film study, weightlifting. Um, what is the preparation like as a college athlete playing at the highest level versus the preparation as a trial attorney working for a national law firm?
Actually, it's the same. Uh, I tell people, so when you play uh, athletics, at the beginning of every season, you begin with the fundamentals.
Hmm.
Because once you get in the heat of the games, if you are steeped in the fundamentals, you just automatically do those things. And they don't, your fundamentals don't break down. Well, it's the same thing when I try a case. Uh, I go back to the beginning. I open my trial books. I double check what I need to do to be able to get documents and photographs and audio and video into evidence properly. I go back just to double check in terms of how I want to direct examine a witness or cross-examine a witness. I always go back to basics and steep myself in those basics because the speed of a trial can move pretty quickly sometimes. Uh, it certainly did that when I first started trying cases, almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
But what happens is once you try so many of them, things slow down and you can see things happening. And so if you're properly prepared, you can see something coming before it happens or as it's happening. And so therefore you're prepared to make a proper objection because you grounded yourself in the fundamentals before trial. And so you can see what's coming, you make the proper objection, and you go from there. And so it is exactly the same thing as you prepare, practice, and then when you get into the heat of the game or the heat of the trial, those fundamentals that you relied on just kick in.
So, and I didn't play defense. I told you I was a punter, but I guess when you're studying film, you see the sets that the offense comes out with. They only have so many packages they can use. So, there's a good chance you've probably seen some of those plays they might be running on film. Is that similar to there's only so many ways this can go with a case?
Yes, because in civil cases, you know, they have to give you information and you have to give them information. So both sides should know what the critical facts are and the critical documents are. It's just a matter of how you explain them.
Got it.
To a jury. And so what I tell, one of the things I do is I help teach younger lawyers how to try cases. And one of the things I always tell them is you have to kill the lawyer in you in order to be a good trial lawyer. And what I mean by that is you have to stop talking in lawyer language, because when you are at Thanksgiving with your family
Yep.
and friends,
Yep.
you don't use those big words to them. You talk to them, you talk to them in a language that they
Relate.
understand, a language that you always talk to them in when you were growing up.
Yep.
And so we have to serve as, in essence, as translators. We have to take complex words and concepts and explain them to a jury as if they were our friends and family.
Wow.
And if we are successful doing that, then we have a chance of persuading them to that our position is correct.
So you go into the situation. Is it really difficult? Because I'm sure every jury is different. Is it really difficult to kind of gauge, where they're leaning when you're doing it?
Oh yeah, I mean juries scare me. And the reason why I say that is because they try. So I believe in the jury system, and I believe that people try to do the right thing.
Yep.
I really believe that.
Yep.
And so a lot of times they won't look at you. And so it's hard to read them because they really don't want to make eye contact with you. And so there's a few things that I do to try and make sure I can establish eye contact with them, because looking at me, they scare me because I don't know if they're hearing what I'm saying.
Right.
So, one of the things that I do is I will go stand in front of them with a respectful distance away, but I'll stand in front of them. Because when someone's standing in front of you, even if you're looking down, at some point you're going to look up.
Right.
And when they do, I lock eyes with them.
Yeah.
And then at least it reassures me when I'm locking eyes and talking that I'm connecting with them. And so I literally will go down the jury box and do that. And the person in the front row, I will wait until we lock eyes, and then the person in the back row, and then I'll move to the next one and the next one and the next one until I've done that with the entire jury box.
Wow.
I don't know whether it's successful or not. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like they're at least seeing me and hearing what I have to say.
It's hard as I think about football. It's like X's and O's, right? You either made the tackle or you didn't. Now, obviously, a ref can call a penalty, but it's pretty objective. Like you made the yard for a first down or you didn't. Whereas there's a like a subjective piece that you just really can't measure.
Oh, absolutely. There is a subjective piece, but there's a subjective piece when you play football because
Yeah.
the referees make a determination
Right.
on whether you're holding or offsides or whether a catch has been properly made.
Yep.
So there's always a subjective component in sport, and it's a subjective component in the when you try a case. From my perspective, the key is I always tell people, try your case.
Mm.
A lot of times people say, well, the other person is going to do this or they're going to do that. And they focus on what the other person is going to do so much that they forget to explain why they should win. So if I'm so worried about what the offense is going to do, then I'm not worrying about what I can do to disrupt it. So when I'm playing, outside linebacker, they line up in a certain formation and there's a certain down and distance. And so I immediately know there's only so many plays that they can run.
Right.
And then I'm looking at what the tight end is going to do. Because there's only 6 things that a tight end can do. And what he does tells me what's going to happen. And so, same thing with the trial. You have all this information, and what the other person does can tell you what can happen. And so therefore, it'll tip you off on whether you need to make an objection or not. It'll tip you off on how you're going to respond when it's your turn to respond. It'll tip you off on what you may want to ask in cross-examination or direct examination. And so you have enough information, data points, that it boils down to your ability to explain your side of the story. Because then what happens, if you explain your side of the story, you're giving the jury a choice. If all I do is tell them, don't find for the other side, they really don't have a choice, because I'm arguing against why the other side should win as opposed to why my side should win. So I always want to give a jury a choice. If I can give them a choice, then I have a chance.
It's a great perspective. It's in that same vein, control what you can control. What would you tell yourself
Yes.
as a young attorney, Doug, starting out, that you wish you would have known 30 years ago, because you've been practicing? It's amazing when anybody goes 30 years in any career, but what would you have told yourself 30 years ago starting out as a young attorney?
Chase the experience, because opportunity after opportunity to get better as a lawyer ultimately creates a confident lawyer and a confident trial lawyer. So I was in a law firm in Iowa, and after I met my wife, I knew that I was probably going to have to move because of the nature of her job. And I tried one trial in my 3rd year of practicing law and realized I didn't know what I was doing. And so I walked away from the amount of money that I was making and took a pay cut to go to a DA's office so I could learn how to try cases.
Got it.
Because I never wanted to be in a situation where I was scared to try a case. And that first case I tried, I was scared and got lucky and we won. But I didn't know how we won. And I didn't know why we won. I just knew that we won. And so the best advice that I could give any young attorney or myself is chase the experience. And that's what I did. And that's why now I'm in a situation where I get hired to go try cases and go try big cases. So that's, and I'm not afraid to do it because I've done it over and over and over again. And so that's what I would say to myself or any young attorney. The experiences accumulate to put you in the position that you ultimately want to be in.
It's great advice. Chase the experience. I want to talk a little bit about Chartwell and what makes them different and unique. So you're out of the Atlanta office. What makes
I
Chartwell
am.
different from other firms? I've through this whole series we've learned about the initiative of giving back, the holiday food drive, Chartwell Cares. Why is Chartwell different than other firms?
It boils down to the people. I've been, I worked in corporate America before I ended up working on my MBA and going to law school. I've worked, in a couple law firms. I've worked in the DA's office. At the end of the day, it boils down to the people that you're working with and that you have the privilege of working with. And how you work together creates a good experience. And that's what's different. There's more of an emphasis here on working with other people that helps makes each other better. I always tell people you don't practice law in a vacuum. So you have to learn from other people and they have to learn from you. And when you teach somebody how to do something, you are learning as well. And so it's important to be able to interact with good people who have the same goals and philosophy to get better and give great service to clients.
It's a great point you just made. When you teach, you tend to learn something better. You get more confident and more comfortable in it. That's a really good point. Good takeaway. Well, I'm going to bring up real quick the values of the firm. I'm just going to share them for those that are listening. Understanding, collaboration, communication, commitment, diversity, equity, inclusion. This Chartwell Cares Initiative, what does the Chartwell Cares Initiative mean to you?
Well, it's important to give back to people. And I don't want to use the word less fortunate because everybody says less fortunate.
Yep.
I think it's important to give back and help people who need a helping hand at certain points in their life. And so often what we have to think about is so many people are how much courage it takes for so many people to have to ask for help. And so to be able to be a person to work in a law firm and be surrounded by people who understand that it's important to help with dignity. Because that's the key, right? You're helping someone who needs help at this particular period of their life, and it's important that they receive dignity because they are exhibiting courage to ask for that help. And it's important to partner with other organizations who understand that and who have a commitment to helping people with dignity.
I feel like people sometimes they get caught up in the act and they forget that there's someone else on the other end of that act.
I agree with you, right? Look, you feel good when you're doing something to help other people.
100%.
There's no question about
100%.
that.
Yes.
And most of us have never been in that situation.
Thank God.
Now I come from a big family. I'm one of 8 kids.
Wow.
My mom is the oldest of 12. My dad is one of 7. My wife comes from a big family. She's one of 7, and both her parents come from big families. And when you come from a big family, it's like our families. It's like a microcosm of society. You have people who are doing extremely well. You have people who are in the middle or the middle class, and you have some people who are struggling at times in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that experience, you see and understand that those struggles are not necessarily continuous struggles.
Yep.
And I think so often people, look at people who are struggling as this whole, like, they're cheating the system or they need to do better.
Yeah.
When, any particular circumstance can knock somebody off their feet uh, at a certain point of their life. And so you just have to, in my opinion, you just have to look at the person and realize that they may have been knocked off their feet for a period of their life.
Mm.
And that period, it could be 30 days, it could be 5 or 6 years, it could be longer, depending on what's going on with them. But most people don't want to live like that. They don't want to live knocked off their feet.
Right.
And so they need help. And some people, it's difficult for them to accept help. And so it's important to give them dignity when you are trying to help people. Because if they're treated well when they're getting helped, my opinion is it's easier for them to bounce back.
Yep.
If you're not treated well, and I don't have any scientific data to support this, it's just my view, but that if you're not treated well, I think it's a little bit harder to bounce back. Shame and fear can prevent progress.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm really proud about is that we're teaming up with organizations, as lawyers and as people to help people in a dignified manner.
You certainly are doing that. It's pervasive throughout the entire culture at Chartwell, and I can say that because I've spoken with you and many of your partners. This is one of the most, I guess, inspiring interviews that I've done, and I've done since I started the podcast now over 50 episodes, and you learn something in all of these discussions. And something you said made me think of this. I don't tell my heart to beat. I don't tell my lungs to breathe. I don't tell my brain to think. It just happens, and I believe it happens as the Lord allows it to happen. But I don't have any control over that. And other people might not have the ability to get a job, or they might have another limitation, and they don't have control over that. And I think that we judge people and we put people in the boxes because maybe it makes things easier for us to process. But what's getting lost in that is the sense of unity. We're all in this together, and like this division doesn't need to exist. At the end of the day, we're all trying to do the best we can. So, like you said, dignity is probably the best word because it shows that level of respect. You're not being respected because you make money or because you have a status. You're just respected because you're a human being and you deserve respect.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have to realize is that we can't let our fears or our feeling uncomfortable prevent us from doing things that can help people. For instance, a lot of people are feeling uncomfortable around people who are having mental health problems.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't hurt to look that person in the eye and say hello.
Yeah.
That person has value. And there are things that they can do that shows that value.
Yes.
And we have to accept what they can give as opposed to letting our fear control how we look at them and their contributions. And so, same thing if somebody has a drug problem, same thing, for women who are victims of domestic violence. These things that happen in life that knock people off their feet also can take away their confidence as a person. And so when we come in as people and we do something to help, and we do it respecting the people that we're helping, that's when you can really make a difference. And that's the nice thing that I see that what we're doing here is we're doing things. Yes, does it make us feel good to try and help? Yes. But when you're doing it to respect people, to respect their dignity, to help them and help them, even if for a short period of time, regain some of their confidence.
Yep.
You're exhibiting a level of humanity that we all should aspire to exhibit.
You're talking about intentionality and heart posture, approaching every situation with that. Mother Teresa used to say she would love until it hurts, and her job was not to solve the problem, but to suffer with them, meaning suffer with those that are suffering, because it showed a
Right.
solidarity that I'm in this with you, and I'm no better than you. You have mental health, you have physical health, whatever it might be. She shared that dignity with the person she served. That's what you're saying, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's why she had such a great and lasting impact on people.
Yep. I'm going to share a few pictures from the food drive that your team did, Doug, and really amazing work. You worked with an organization. It's called the Atlanta Mission Kitchen. Atlanta Mission Kitchen, and specifically one of the outreaches of that was called My Sister's House. So it's part of the organization. You did a tremendous job. Your office collected a lot of food this year. I think they did a lot last year. They expanded upon that this year, and we're showing some of the pictures right now. This organization that you worked with, My Sister's House, is doing some really beautiful work. They're helping those that are suffering with domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, giving people an opportunity and doing it with, as you mentioned, the word dignity. So it's an overnight shelter for women and children experiencing homelessness. And just hats off to you and your office down there in Atlanta for contributing and making such a big difference locally in the community.
Well, thank you. Look, the credit goes to Ryan Hathcock, who spearheaded this, and to my colleagues. It's a fabulous thing. And, My Sister's House, how can you not support women and children who are in crisis?
Yes.
Right. So, it makes me proud. When I was a prosecutor, I dealt with, battered women at times. I dealt with sexual assault at times. And so you see people when they're going through those situations. And I think I have a fundamental understanding based on those experiences that I went through during my prosecution days. That gives me a sense of empathy, but also gives me a sense of hope, because when these women are helped and able to break the cycle, and their kids break the cycle, what we are doing is giving them a lift up, a step forward, that they can have a different life than what they had went through, and their children can have a different life than what they had went through. And you never know, you really never know how, with just by doing something little like giving food, how much you can impact somebody's life. We'll never know that. But what we should understand is by helping and giving people dignity, and having that commitment, that little thing could mean something big several years down the road. And so you have to stay committed to the process of helping people with dignity. And as long as you do that, we don't have to actually see the good that comes out of it.
Yep.
We just have to know that good is going to come out of it.
What a profound statement. A deep level of emotional intelligence there, Doug, just sharing that understanding. And since we're in the holiday season, I think maybe a good uh, way to leave this, put a bow around it, literally, the movie A Wonderful Life, and came out a long time
Uh,
ago. And remember how in the movie
yeah,
George Bailey thought, he was at the end of his rope, and then the angel shows him if he wasn't here, all the things that wouldn't have happened that he had an impact on that he never knew. And it's kind of like what you just said. You just might not know what that impact of that one meal was 3 years later, and it could have made an impact on that person's life.
absolutely. And so it's important to just stay committed to doing what you can to help people with with dignity, helping them regain their confidence, their dignity, um, or reinforce the fact that they're in a safe space so that they can move forward. Whatever it is, as long as we are doing it with the intent to help the person, um, with the residual effect of feeling good about ourselves, right?
Yep.
If we're doing it to feel good about ourselves primarily, then we're missing the point. But if we're truly doing it to help people, it's always okay to have that residual good feeling. But just know that we're truly helping people when they've been knocked off their feet.
That's the perfect note to end on. I want to do it again with you, Doug. I think you've got so much wisdom to share, and I think I hope people take the time to listen to your message. There were so many points here that I will apply. So I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, Derek. I appreciate talking to you, and thank you for all you're doing in terms of conducting these interviews with everybody. It's an honor to be selected to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Doug. Well, for those that are listening, please make sure you subscribe. We're on YouTube and Spotify, iTunes. This has been Derek Fiorenza of Fiorenza's Food for Friends on the F4 Hunger Awareness Show, and I was joined today by Doug Burrell, partner of Chartwell Law out of their Atlanta office. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.